are you? Not just which room, which city, which country, although you can always write them in the comment section and see which parts of the world we are connecting from. But where are you in the universe? Are you at the edge of something vast or near the center? Are you peripheral or essential? Ordinary or special? For most of human history, we believed we knew the answer. We were at the center. Earth was the hub around which everything else turned. The sun, moon, planets, and stars all circled us in crystalline spheres, a cosmic dance arranged for our benefit. We were wrong, but the story of how we discovered this and what that discovery means is more beautiful and strange than any tale of being at the center could ever be. Imagine ancient Greece, 23 centuries ago. Aristotle looks up at the night sky and sees what seems obvious. We stand still while the heavens revolve above us. The sun rises in the east, arcs across the sky, sets in the west. The moon follows its own stately path. The planets, those wandering stars, trace their loops against the fixed background of constellations. To Aristotle, the universe is made of nested crystalline spheres. Earth sits at the center, composed of the heaviest elements. Water flows across its surface. Air surrounds it. Fire reaches upward. Beyond all of this, the perfect spheres of the heavens turn with mathematical precision, carrying the celestial bodies in their ordained paths. It's a beautiful picture, orderly, comprehensible, and most importantly, it matches what you see when you look up. For 2,000 years, this is how the Western world understood the cosmos. We were the center, everything else was arranged around us. But in 1543, a Polish astronomer named Nicolaus Copernicus published a radical idea. What if, he asked, the sun is at the center? What if Earth is just another planet, spinning on its axis and orbiting the sun along with the others? The idea was shocking, not because the math was wrong. In fact, it made certain calculations easier, but because it displaced us. Suddenly, we weren't the center of creation. We were just one world among others, circling an ordinary star. Most people resisted the idea of Copernicus. It contradicted common sense, contradicted everything that seemed self-evident when you looked up at the sky. The sun appears to move across the heavens. The earth feels stationary beneath our feet. How could this solid ground be hurtling through space? And yet, evidence began to accumulate. Galileo pointed his newly invented telescope at Jupiter and saw moons orbiting it, small worlds that completely ignored Earth, circling Jupiter as if we didn't matter at all. Johannes Kepler showed that planetary orbits weren't perfect circles, but ellipses, their paths shaped by the sun's gravity. Slowly, reluctantly, we accepted it. Earth was not the center, the sun was. The first step away from centrality. But this was only the beginning, because as telescopes improved, another shock awaited us. In the 18th and 19th centuries, astronomers like William Herschel began mapping the stars. They realized that our sun wasn't alone. It was one star among billions, all gathered into a vast disk of light we call the Milky Way galaxy. All those faint smudges in the night sky that had puzzled astronomers for centuries, as telescopes grew more powerful, those smudges revealed themselves to be other galaxies, entire islands of stars, each containing billions of suns scattered throughout space as far as we could see. We weren't at the center of the solar system, and our solar system wasn't at the center of the galaxy. In fact, we were out in the suburbs, about 2/3 of the way from the galactic core. In one of the spiral arms, an ordinary star in an ordinary location. We kept getting displaced, pushed further and further from any claim to being central or special. Then, in the 1920s, an astronomer named Edwin Hubble made a discovery that changed everything again. He was studying distant galaxies, measuring how fast they were moving by analyzing the light they emitted. He expected to see some galaxies moving toward us and others moving away, like boats on an ocean, drifting in various directions. But that's not what he found. Every galaxy he looked at, in every direction, was moving away from us. And not just moving away, but the farther away a galaxy was, the faster it was receding. At first glance, this seems to put us back at the center. If everything is rushing away from us, aren't we at the point where some cosmic explosion originated? Aren't we, after all, in a special place? The answer is no. And the reason why is one of the most beautiful insights in all of cosmology. Imagine you're a two-dimensional being living on the surface of a balloon. You are flat, confined to the rubber skin, unable to perceive up or down. Those directions simply don't exist for you. Now imagine the balloon is being inflated. From your perspective, every point on the balloon's surface is moving away from every other point. No matter where you stand, it looks like you're at the center of an expansion. But there is no center on the surface. The center of the balloon exists in a direction you can't perceive, inward, toward the balloon's middle. In that third dimension you don't have access to. From your 2D perspective, the surface is all there is, and every point on it is equivalent. No point is more central than any other. Our universe is like this. Not the surface of a balloon exactly, but something analogous in higher dimensions. Space itself is expanding, not expanding into something, but expanding in the sense that the distance between galaxies is increasing. The fabric of space is stretching. This means that from any galaxy, looking out in any direction, you would see other galaxies receding. Every observer, everywhere in the universe, sees the same thing. They appear to be at the center of an expanding cosmos, which means paradoxically that there is no center at all. But let's ask the question more carefully. If the universe is expanding, doesn't that mean it's expanding from something? Shouldn't there be a point where the expansion started? This is where it gets even stranger. The Big Bang, that moment 13.8 billion years ago, when the universe began, wasn't an explosion that happened at a particular location in space. It was an event that happened everywhere at once. Every point in space can trace its history back to that beginning. Space itself was born then. In a very real sense, if you want to point to where the Big Bang happened, you can point in any direction whatsoever, because every direction traced backward through time leads to that singular beginning. Not a point in space, but a point in time, a moment that occurred everywhere simultaneously. The Big Bang is not a place, it is a when. Einstein's general theory of relativity describes this mathematically. Space and time are woven together into a four-dimensional fabric called spacetime. And this fabric has a shape determined by the matter and energy within it. A Russian physicist named Alexander Friedman worked out the possible shapes the universe could have. He found three basic possibilities depending on the average density of matter and energy. If there's enough matter, space curves back on itself like the surface of a sphere. We call this a closed universe. It's finite in size, but has no edge. Just like you can travel around the sphere forever without finding a boundary. If there is less matter, space curves the opposite way, like the surface of a saddle, extending forever. An open universe, infinite in extent. And if the density is just right, space is flat, also infinite, like an endless plane. Each of these geometries has profound implications for the question of center. In a closed universe, that sphere-like shape, there is no center within the three dimensions of space, but you could say that the center exists in a direction we can't point to, in a higher dimension we don't have access to. It's like asking a 2D being on the surface of a sphere to point at the sphere's center. They can't, because the center is down in a direction that doesn't exist in their flat world. But here's something beautiful. Even though we can't point to the center in space, we can point to it in time. Because the universe is expanding, we can imagine time as a kind of radial direction from that higher dimensional center. The universe was once incredibly small, perhaps infinitesimally so, and has been growing ever since. In this view, we were once at the center, not us specifically, but all of space, all of matter, all of energy. Everything was compressed together at that moment of beginning. And as the universe expanded, space stretched outward in all directions from that beginning. So when someone asks, where is the center of the universe? You can answer, in the past. The Big Bang is the center, not in space, but in time. And you can point to it by pointing at anything, because every direction leads back to that moment if you trace it far enough. Of course, all of this assumes that the universe is homogeneous, that matter and energy are distributed roughly evenly everywhere. This is called the cosmological principle. The universe looks basically the same no matter where you are, once you zoom out far enough. But what if that's not true? What if space is lumpy on the largest scales? What if our observable universe is just a bubble, finite in size, embedded in something even larger? This idea isn't as crazy as it sounds. General relativity allows for solutions where the universe has a center, where matter is distributed in a spherically symmetric cloud, with density that varies from the center outward. An observer inside such a cloud would see exactly what we see: galaxies receding, space expanding. In this scenario, there could be a center to our cosmic bubble, and we might even be near it. There's no evidence for this. The universe, as far as we can measure, appears homogeneous and isotropic, the same in all directions. But our observations only extend so far. Beyond the cosmic horizon, beyond the limits of what light has had time to reach us since the beginning, we simply don't know. Perhaps our universe is a bubble in a vast sea of eternally inflating space. Perhaps there are countless other bubbles, each with its own Big Bang, its own galaxies, its own observers wondering about centers. If so, we might never know. The evidence would lie forever beyond our ability to observe it. So where does this leave us? After all these displacements, all these discoveries that pushed us further from the center, what can we say about our place in the cosmos? We are not at the center of the solar system. The sun is. We are not at the center of the galaxy. We're in the outer suburbs. We are not at the center of the universe. As far as we can tell, there is no center at all. And yet, we are also precisely at the center of the observable universe, because the observable universe is defined as the sphere of space from which light has had time to reach us. That sphere is centered on us by definition. Move to another galaxy, and the observable universe from that perspective would be different, centered on that new location. In this sense, every observer is at the center of their own observable universe. We are all central, which means none of us are. The democracy of perspective. We are all central. We are all peripheral. Perhaps the question, where is the center, is the wrong question. Perhaps it's based on an assumption that the universe is like a city or a galaxy or a solar system with a clear middle and outskirts. That simply doesn't apply to something infinite or unbounded. The universe may not have a center in any meaningful sense, but it has us. It has observers, conscious beings capable of looking up, measuring, wondering. In that sense, every point where awareness arises becomes temporarily a center of understanding. You are not at the center of the universe spatially, but you are at the center of your experience of the universe. The cosmos you know is the one radiating outward from your particular perspective, your specific location in space and time. And that's not insignificance, because what we've learned by seeking the center, by displacing ourselves again and again, is that the universe is far grander, far stranger, far more beautiful than our ancestors imagined. We are not central, but we are part of something magnificent. Think about what we've discovered by letting go of our centrality, by accepting that Earth orbits the Sun, not the other way around. We learned the true nature of gravity and planetary motion. By accepting that our Sun is one among billions, we discovered the vastness of the Milky Way. By accepting that our galaxy is among countless others, we discovered the expanding universe and traced our history back to the Big Bang. Each displacement, each step away from being central, revealed more truth, more beauty, more wonder. If we had clung to the idea of being at the center, we would have missed all of this. We would still be trapped in Aristotle's crystal spheres, ignorant of the cosmos that actually contains us. So perhaps being displaced from the center is not a loss, but a gift. It's an invitation to see more, understand more, be part of something grander than we imagined. Feel the freedom in this, not diminished by vastness, but expanded by it. There's something else worth noting. The question of the center might not be the most interesting question anymore. What matters more is the structure, the connections, the processes that link everything together. We live in a universe that began nearly 14 billion years ago, has been expanding ever since, contains hundreds of billions of galaxies, and may be infinite in extent. Within this universe, matter has organized itself into stars, planets, and on at least one world we know of, living things capable of contemplating all of this. That's more interesting than being at some arbitrary center. That's more meaningful than occupying a privileged location. We are part of a cosmos that can examine itself, question itself, understand itself. Atoms formed in stellar cores have come together to create beings that can look up at those stars and comprehend how they formed. The universe has become aware of itself through us. That's not centrality, but it's something perhaps more remarkable. You are the universe looking at itself. So if someone asks you where is the center of the universe, you can give them several answers, all true. There is no center in the space we can observe. Every point is equivalent. The center exists in the past, at the Big Bang when all of space was compressed together. The center might exist in dimensions we can't perceive, if the universe is closed and curves back on itself. Or the center might be everywhere, because every observer sees the universe at the middle of their observable universe. But perhaps the best answer is this: the center doesn't matter as much as we thought. What matters is that we're here, aware, capable of asking the question. What matters is the journey from thinking we were central to understanding we're part of something far larger. What matters is continuing to look up, to wonder, to seek. Not centrality, but curiosity. Not privilege, but participation. Tonight, when you look up at the stars, remember, you're not seeing the universe from its center. You're seeing it from one vantage point among countless others, each as valid as yours. The galaxies you see are receding, not from you specifically, but from every observer everywhere, because space itself is expanding. If you could instantly teleport to a galaxy 10 billion light years away, you'd see the same thing. Everything rushing away in all directions. There is no center to this dance, or rather, the center is everywhere and nowhere. A point in time rather than space. A moment that happened to all places simultaneously. And somehow in this centralist cosmos, matter has arranged itself into you, into awareness that can contemplate these questions, into consciousness that can feel wonder at the arrangement of everything. You are not at the center, but you are here. You're not special in your location, but you are remarkable in your existence. And maybe that's enough. Maybe being a participant in this vast, centralist, expanding universe is more meaningful than being at the middle of a small one. We are not at the center of the universe, but the universe contains us, made us, gave us the capacity to understand it. In that exchange, the cosmos knowing itself through our awareness, something profound occurs. Not centrality, but relationship. Not dominance, but belonging. The universe has no center, but it has you, and that matters more than any location ever could.